So watching the 49ers last night, I got to be honest with you, it's hard not to be jealous of the guys that get to play on this team because it is such a well-constructed team and they just play the right way because they're coached the right way. And the attention to detail is just so obvious that it leaps off the screen at you. And this is something that I don't think Kyle Shanahan gets enough credit for. He gets labeled an offensive genius, the wonder boy, even though he's not all that much of a boy anymore. But it's his attention to detail and his ability to deceive a defense that as a defensive player, I watch it and I think, oh crap, I don't know how you defend this stuff. On the defensive side, I think Demeco Ryans equally has that same obsessiveness about detail. And it showed up last night. I'm going to show you a few plays where it was really, really obvious. On the offensive side of the ball, first, this run by Christian McCaffrey where he looks like a December 1st nut shooting through there. And it's tempting to think, okay, well, this linebacker is clueless and lost in space. He's seen these 49ers. He knows that at this point, when the quarterback is still potentially faking the handoff so he can go out on a boot, they're very, very dangerous. But the other thing that really makes this go is Trent Williams, the offensive lineman. And this is another part about the zone running scheme that I don't think is necessarily understood. It's not so simple as just calling inside and outside zone, and there you go, and then you can run play action off of it. It's a lot of technique, and offensive linemen on teams that run this scheme well are meticulous with their technique and very good with it. Trent Williams very much so here, because look, this looks like it could easily be a hold if you grabbed it at this still frame. And as a defensive lineman, I have to do nothing more than just give Trent Williams credit for this because it's a masterful illegal hold, but that one that won't be called. And why? Because Trent Williams brings his feet. Guys get called for holding when they don't bring their feet. Right here, it looks like it's going to be a hold, but look at Trent Williams work his way around, reposition his hands, and it doesn't end up being a hold to the point where poor number 93 doesn't even know that he should be complaining to the umpire right now about how he was unfairly accosted on his way to making what would have been a tackle for a loss. Obviously. And now you might be saying, okay, well, that's great, but they also do have George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. They have all these players. But it's those guys paying attention to detail, like George Kittle here. This looks like a jailbreak play where George Kittle was just lucky enough to be wide open because the play design afforded it to him. George Kittle is part of getting himself wide open there by the disguise and by the deception. So you see George Kittle lined up in line in his three-point stance, and they're going to run not one but two fake screens here. I would submit that the second fake screen isn't actually a fake, but it was an option. So they fake that way. They get the linebackers all flummoxed and confused. He comes back and he's faking to his right. George Kittle still blocking, and that's key. He's genuinely blocking, except his defensive lineman that he's blocking is starting to leave on his own accord. Why is he leaving on his own accord? Because they've got a viable screen set up out there in the flat, and because George Kittle held his block, there's no reason for the defensive lineman or the linebacker behind him to think that Kittle was going out on a route on his own. So I'll credit Purdy, by the way, too, on this, because this is a rookie running a play that requires some patience, that requires making a couple decisions, at the very least one big decision. And Purdy's done a really good job with that, of executing the screen. And that's how you get the wide open pass, by properly executing the offense. Not just drawing it up on a whiteboard somewhere, but properly executing the offense. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, I think sometimes with blitzes, people think, well, hey, you had the right blitz dialed up versus that offensive play call, and it's as simple as that. The one very often miscalculated part of a blitz is the timing of the blitzer. And you'll recognize a well-timed blitz. What doesn't show up as obviously is when there's a blitz called, and let's say it's a safety blitz, and as the quarterback is giving a hard count or what have you, all of a sudden the safety takes a couple stutter steps, quarterback stops, resets the protection, knows exactly what's coming, and dials up a really nice play downfield. Or when the quarterback sees or suspects what blitz is coming and understands where that void is going to be, so the blitzer never even gets close to the quarterback because the ball comes out so fast. This blitz that you're about to watch right here, So this right here is going to be a great example of a well-timed blitz where Hufonga comes up, causes a fumble. Huge play here. At first, I was going to blame Geno Smith for not picking up on this blitz, but if you watch Hufonga as he starts to come on this blitz, there are 13 seconds left on the play clock. That is enough time for Geno Smith to stop the process, change the protection, get that taken care of. But I think Hufonga just timed it just right. Herb Street also said that, hey, it would be nice if that tight end could have picked up the blitzer. I disagree. It would have been nice if Geno Smith had picked up the blitzer. That is his responsibility there, because look at where the tight end is at that point. And then that's an easy 5 to 10 yards just by picking up the blitz. But timing is huge, and that was something that Vic Fangio, when he coached my team, was very, very adamant about guys timing up the blitz well. There's nothing worse than as a defensive lineman when you're down in the stance and let's say you've got a safety blitz called and you realize as the quarterback starting in on his cadence and maybe one hard count, you realize that he saw the safety gave it away, and then he resets the protection. You're stuck with max protection and they end up throwing a touchdown. It happens a lot, and it's because guys aren't disciplined. They can't hold their water. So unlike Hufonga there, they end up tipping their hand. Another thing that I think you can credit to coaching is the approach of Charvarius Ward last night versus D.K.Metcalf. Going back to the old Patriots teams, when the league is officiating a certain way and allowing a certain amount of physical play, like there was between Ward and D.K.Metcalf in that game last night, it benefits the defensive backs if they really push the envelope on this. And I think it benefited the 49ers to the point where D.K. Metcalf was getting so frustrated that he played extra dirty, gives a little tug here, negates a nice pass downfield. D.K. Metcalf was having a go of it last night. He got flagged for unsportsmanlike for potentially flipping somebody off. I was told a hand gesture was involved. And then the other obvious thing too, this right here is just me going to be griping about the NFL real quickly because my God, this was just atrocious in terms of a horrible rule being poorly officiated. Let's watch Bosa play a TE game. Beautiful. The defensive tackle comes upfield. And believe it or not, this pick six was called back. Why? Why, might you say, was this called back? Well, roughing the passer. Watch this. It's just obviously roughing the passer, right? I mean, right there, as soon as the ball's gone, he should have... I don't know what he does there. I almost feel like if you were going to try to roll off of it somehow, he might be accused of trying to lay a shoulder into Geno Smith. This has got to... They're going to put this to review this offseason and perhaps consider making these roughing the passer penalties and unsportsmanlike conduct penalties reviewable. They have to if they're going to call it this strict. Absurd. But not absurd by you, Kyle Shanahan, and future Texans head coach Demeco Ryans.